Welcome to Tina's Treasure Expressions. My name is Tina. Today we're trying something new. We're working on a sew and alteration project. I took a long dress that I found at a thrift shop that I wasn't able to close up in the back, so I had to add a panel and a corset. And just spice it up a little bit by making it into a cute cocktail dress. Can't wait. So now let's get started on that cute cocktail dress. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure up to see how much we want to cut off. I'm going to be cutting off 19 inches and I'm going to pin that all the way across. And now I'm going to just cut off the remaining fabric and we're going to just cut along that line all the way across till we get to the end. Then we're going to separate that, and that's what I have for leftover material I'll be using later. And I'm just going to tuck the tulle back into the dress. Then I'm going to take the pins out along the bottom edge, and then we're going to take the remaining tulle that's tucked up in there that used to be part of the original length. Then we're just going to pull that out, and as you can see, that is very long. So we're going to save about maybe 2 inches of that, but right now we're just going to cut the rest of this off. And this is what we have left. Now we're going to do a basting stitch all the way around, which is what we're going to use to gather the tulle, and that will give it a nice ruffle along the edge. Now it's time to gather it, and what we do is we pull the thread on the right there, and with my left hand I'm using that to get the gathers all spread out evenly. Just be careful when you're pulling the thread not to pull too hard because you will pull your gathers out. Now we're going to change the setting on the machine to a closer stitch. Yes, this is my itty bitty machine that I have until I order my part for my real machine. Now we're going to sew along that basting stitch with the closer stitch, and that just locks all the gathers in place so they can't come undone. And we're just going to continue this all the way around until it's finished. Now the next thing we're going to do is put a hem in the whole bottom edge of the dress, and we're going to roll that up about a 1/2 inch, and then we're going to press that down. Just continue to do that all the way around until it's all folded up and pressed down. Then we're going to roll the bottom edge of this seam, and we're going to make sure that the raw edge is tucked in so there's no fraying, and we're going to press that. Then when we're done doing that, we're just going to pin that edge all the way around until that's done. Then we're going to take the tulle and cut it along this edge here. Once that's cut, we're going to add the tulle to the bottom edge of this hem, and then we're just going to place it on top, and we're going to pin this. Then we're going to pin it all the way around. Now we're just going to stitch along that whole bottom edge, being careful of the pins and keeping the presser foot along that edge so that we keep the seam straight all the way along. We're just going to continue stitching until that bottom edge is done. Now all we have to do is take all these pins out. Then we are ready to cut this bottom edge to about 2 inches. So I'm going to grab my scissors, and then we're just going to go ahead and do that and cut that all the way around. Here we have the completed hem and all the extra fabric, and we're going to be using that fabric, and we're going to cut that into a panel. We're going to cut on both sides, and then we're just going to put that into the back of the dress. I forgot to mention that I did take out the zipper, but I didn't get it on film. So we're going to open this up, and we're going to lay that panel in there, and then what we're going to do is we are going to pin it along one of the edges, and we're just going to do that right now. I'm going to do that all the way down, and it looks like I have a helper. Hi, Lincoln. Now we have it over at the machine, and we're just going to be sure to do a reverse stitch at the first 1/2 inch and continue to stitch it all the way down until you get to the bottom where you're going to do a reverse stitch. And once that's done, we're just going to take that out from the machine, and we're going to cut the threads. Next, we're going to be working on the corset, and this is rat tail cord, and it's very silky, and we're also going to be using the double folded bias tape. But for now, we're just going to measure the opening here to see how many loops that we're going to need. We have 10 inches, so we're going to make 1-inch loops, and we're going to space them every 1 inch along the edge. And we'll be doing this to both sides, so we'll need a total of 20 cords cut to 2 inches. So we're going to continue to cut those cords, and then once those are cut, we are going to put those loops in between the bias tape all along this side as well as this side. Then we're going to have ribbon that's going to go crisscrossing through this section. Now that all 20 cords are cut, we are going to go ahead and cut the bias tape. We know the opening is 10 inches, so I'm going to cut the bias tape to 10 inches, and we're going to need 2 of those, so we're going to cut this first one and just match up the other one and cut that to 10 inches as well. Now we're going to just take the bias tape, and we're going to be making the cord loops all along the bias tape by sandwiching it in between. And now we're going to form the loop, and we're going to pin that through the bias tape, being sure that it goes through the cord and both sides of the bias tape. Once you have the cord formed into a loop, you want to make sure it's a nice shape. And now we're going to measure from the center point of the loop, and we're going to measure 1 inch down, and then we're going to take a pin and we're going to mark that center point so that we know where the center of our next loop is going to be. We're going to pick up the piece of cord and we're going to sandwich it in between the bias tape on either side of the pin.
Say hello to my little friend.
She loves to be wherever I am every time I work on a project. Hi, Tuxie. All right, now let's get back to pinning the cord loops onto the bias tape and make sure they're uniform in size, and also make sure that this center line here matches with that pin, and just continue pinning the cord to the bias tape, and you could take that out and put that pin through the other cord, and we're going to continue to do that all the way down until they're completed. I used the back side of a paintbrush to make sure that my loops stayed uniform in size. Now that all of the loops are done, we're going to take the strip with the bias tape and all the loops to the machine, and we're going to just reinforce all of those loops to make sure they're strong by going back and forth over each loop section at least 5 or 6 times. And what that does is reinforce each loop so that it does not pull out from the bias tape. Okay, now the strip is done and I've reinforced all along every loop, and I just wanted to show you how strong it is by tugging on it a little bit so they're strong. Just pull on that and they're not coming out, which is great. And don't worry if it's messy, because this is very messy, because it's going to be hidden underneath of the back side of the dress here, and it's going to get stitched. So we're just going to pin this right now, and once we're done pinning, then we're going to take it to the machine and we're going to start sewing all the way down. And just be sure that you reverse it at the beginning, and just go slowly along this edge to keep the seam straight. And then once we get to the end, we're also going to do a quick little reverse to lock that stitch in. Okay, so now that corset strip is in there, and now I'm going to just fold this over and I'm going to put this back under the machine. Now I'm going to go over and I'm going to top stitch along the original top stitch that was already there, and that will also just help to reinforce that. So we're going to continue all the way along until I get to the bottom, and then we will lace up the corset. Okay, the corset's done. Now all we need to do is take the ribbon and put it through all the corded loops through here. And I'm going to speed up the video a little bit because it takes a little while to do. It's really easy. Just make sure you crisscross it down the center and go up through each loop. And then once you get to the bottom, it's going to be a little tight. So we're going to need to loosen up the ribbon by pulling each set of the ribbon all the way up until we reach the top, so it's loose enough so we can try the dress on. Then all we need to do is tie it into a bow and then cut the excess ribbon off, and then the corset is complete. So here's what it looks like from the back. And now it's not wide open and it fits much better. And I'm really excited with the way it came out. And here's the cute cocktail dress. And I originally bought it for a New Year's Eve party, and I started the alteration 3 days before. And unfortunately, I was 6 pounds heavier then than I am now. So unfortunately, when I got done with the alteration, I wasn't real happy with the way it fit, but now I love the way it fits, and I'm gonna need to find a place to wear it. Hope you had fun watching the new tutorial on the sewing alterations, and I gave you some inspiration to want to try a new recycle project of your own. If there's something you'd like me to try to recycle into either jewelry or clothes, just let me know in the comments section, and be sure to click on the link below to the Facebook group so that I can see some of the creations you've created from some of my tutorials. Thanks, bye.